Maggie Robb. Here. Steve Burke.
Here.
Lynn Barkhouse. Here. Glenn Wiggins.
Here.
Connie Bobet. Here. Barbara Christensen. Present. Rod Fleck.
Here.
Cheryl Williams. Mike Doherty.
Here.
And Cheryl, for the record, Cheryl Williams sent an email saying she couldn't come, but did send a couple of comments on some agenda items. Okay, I'm looking either for a request to modify the agenda or approval of the agenda, whichever you.
I would like to add something to the agenda.
All right.
I don't know if they call it maybe housekeeping rules, but I want to talk about when we get the agenda packet sent out to us, and then also about mileage and other expenditures.
Okay, so where do you want to put that? Do you want to put that after correspondence and petitions,
Sure.
or part of the executive committee?
Either one.
We'll make it part of the executive committee. Okay, so you have two items you want to raise under the executive committee?
Yes.
Okay. So noted. Anyone else have a modification?
What was the second item? The first item? I want to talk about when we send out the agenda items and the notice of the meeting.
I thought
Mileage issues.
And mileage reimbursement.
And then the second part is the mileage and other
I got that
expenditures.
one. Any other modifications to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as modified?
I so move.
Second.
Moved by Nola and seconded by Sue. I'm going to be noting your names to the record because last time Trish, when people have their back to her, it's trouble. She had trouble last time figuring out who moved and seconded. So we will be. Then you can correct me if I get your name wrong. Okay.
Or we could give our name first before we say.
You can always try that. Okay. Those in favor of the agenda as modified?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Now we have time for public comment on agenda items. The sign-up sheet, last time I saw it was at the end of that. Oh, it's up on the podium. Okay, so when you get to the podium, you can just sign in if you have a comment you want to make. While we're waiting for you to think about that, I draw the attention to the audience to the bottom comments. Do they have the agenda? You don't? Okay.
And I made some extras.
All right, there's some agendas up here. At the bottom of the agenda, you'll note there's 3 items. One is that there are hearing devices available. Just ask Chris for one, she'll line you up. We ask that conversations between audience members be held out in the hallway because it disrupts the recording. And lastly, that please, when you comment, be sure you sign up on the sign-up sheet. It's that way Trish gets your name and spells it right and all that other sort of thing. So seeing no one coming up to the podium, we will then move on to approval of the minutes.
I had a couple of comments that I needed to make.
Okay?
On the second page, Article 15.
Okay, so no, yeah, use the mic if you would. Okay, page
On the
2.
second page.
It's on.
It's on. Well, it's not picking me up and I'm talking right
Yeah.
into it. Okay, on the second page, Article 15, I believe it should read Miller moved to add PPE, so I think that should be fixed.
Okay?
The second thing was, I felt like I needed to clarify my opposition to the action that was taken on taking of the minutes. I was not in opposition. My opposition was that this should certainly be considered by the public as an official record, but not the official record, which is the actual verbal recording of this meeting. I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't object to I just thought it should be and.
Okay. Other comments about the minutes? On the election of officers, I do know that some folks abstained from voting. Do they want that noted in the record? Okay, then we won't bother. Okay? Anybody else? Oh, yeah, Mike?
So I don't know procedurally exactly how to do that, but it's in the minutes on page 2, the bylaws are adopted. And on page 3 of the bylaws.
Where are you on page 2?
Page 2 of the minutes, the bylaws, it's about a third of the way down, action taken.
Okay.
Adopt bylaws. And in adopting the bylaws, I have one small addition in the bylaws. It's on page 3 of the bylaws, Article 9, and I moved to insert a new section.
Just a second, let us catch up with you. Page 3, what?
Page 3 of the bylaws. And section 3 of Article 9. So it was a new section that we passed. Small thing, but it begins recommendation of the charter review. So I believe it was plural, recommendations of meeting path. So
Right.
I think it's just a clerical error, so if the clerk can change that, I appreciate it.
Okay. I'm sure we can do that.
If there's no objection.
I do? Okay. Any other comments about the minutes?
Does that include the attachments to the minutes?
So what is, well, the minutes say that we approved the bylaws, and then they're attached. I assume that, correct me if I'm right or wrong, parliamentarian, but by adopting the minutes, we're basically saying,
We already adopted the
We've
bylaws
already
by
adopted the
motion
bylaws,
and
yeah.
second. The
Yeah.
minutes are just reflecting the fact that
Right.
what you did and the attachment is a
My
number.
concern wasn't with that, but was with the 2 pieces of correspondence that we received.
That's just,
That's
that's just file. That's
That's
just
in the file.
information.
It isn't
Yeah.
something that we would comment on at
No.
this point.
no, we're, right now, the only motion, we don't have a motion.
That's why I was asking.
The only discussion on
Mark.
the table is whether or not the minutes are accurate and we want to adopt them.
I move the adoption of minutes.
Second.
As presented and amended.
Okay, so Glenn is moving that we adopt the minutes as amended, including that little S in the bylaws, right? Okay, and seconded by Rob. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Okay. So now we have correspondence and petitions, and so you received some correspondence, and I think what we've mentioned before is the correspondence is here, and it is for our information, and I don't think we need to do a lot of discussing, we just can know that it's there. Because when people come up here and give public comments, we just take their comments, we don't have a discussion about their comments. So I think we should treat the written comments the same as the oral comments. You know, I forgot one thing in the roll call is to introduce our prosecuting attorney. You want to stand up and introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, my name is Christina Nelson-Gross. I am here on behalf of Mark Nichols tonight, who's going to be here. He had some alternative commitments that he needed to attend to. And Ms. Turner, do you want me to wait for the one issue that Mark wanted me to bring before the board, or would you like me to do it?
What is it in regards to, how does it fit in the agenda?
It is under open public meetings training.
I would like when we get to that.
Okay,
your
excellent.
comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So under reports, what we have, you'll find an executive, oh, excuse me, Ron.
Okay, I just want to make sure, so when you say we received the some communications, you talk about, for example, the Center for Life Democracy, that's one, and then it looks like a direction to the Charter Review Commission. Those are what you have. Right? Okay.
And they're all for your information and review.
How do we address these though? At some point, they give us information that's printed only. At some point, we should address their concerns. How is that done?
It could be done whenever as far as I'm concerned, correct me if you're wrong, but when you have a written comment, it usually is germane to some article or another. So when we get to discussing that particular article, we can reference back that we had correspondence regarding that from 22 different people or 3 different people or whatever. I would seem to me it's a, because right now we're just collecting those comments, and I don't know that it's, because as I say, the public comment that we take here, we do not have a discussion about. It's just input. There, that's the difference between the public comment and the public hearings. The public hearings we can engage with the audience. Does that make sense? Is that, everybody else, does that sound okay? All right.
I guess that was one of my concerns though, is this one is objecting to not having that input opportunity.
Well, that's okay, people can object. So the executive committee met, which is Sue Ford and Barb Christensen and myself, and we came up with 3 things. One, we proposed a meeting schedule for the year, which we will get to in a moment. We discussed invitations to attend, to have elected officials come before the body, and we made up these rules, which are open for your discussion, amendment, and whatever way. Huh?
Sequence we have this in.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're
Okay.
running out of your order for your
Yeah.
agenda? Okay.
if you want to go back to finance, if you want, okay, we can do the agenda. All right,
We already-
Trish wants me to do it in the order it's on the agenda. So finance report, Barb?
It helps me with minutes.
Okay, because it was all part, came out of the executive committee meeting. So out of that executive committee meeting, Barb said she would track our expenses. So we don't have a treasurer, but that's going to be her job at each meeting to tell you what's going on with our expenses. Okay.
So our beginning balance is $5,100, as Jim Jones, the county administrator, showed us in the budget. I have had 1 receipt turned into me, and that is for the water that we've had in front of us today. And I checked with Trish, and there was no, she was unaware of any other expenditures that have been submitted in. So this is going to be our first receipt.
And I had someone submit mileage tonight. I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
That's one thing we're going to talk about.
Well, you can do it in finance if you want. Because of the financial issue, the rules around submitting for your mileage.
So that was the end of my report. And then what we talked about was Tricia's been getting a number of emails, like requests for how do you get the mileage and when do those get turned in and so forth and so on. And the council requires that we submit those in monthly, correct? So we have to submit those in once a month if you want to get reimbursed for your mileage. And any other receipts are to be given to Norma, and then Norma gives them to me, right? That's how that works? You're the one who approves the.
All right, that's fine.
Right?
Perfect. Okay.
Just a
Yes,
minor-
Ron.
Just a minor detail then, the monthly, is that like at the end of the month, either the last day of the month, or you're submitting your mileage, or?
Probably after the last meeting of the month.
Yes.
After the last meeting.
Yeah. And Trish will get us all mileage reimbursement forms, so we'll have to verify that.
You can grab them on your way out if you want.
So Ted,
Yeah, I was curious on the executive committee, is this open to the public or is it just restricted to the 3?
it's just the executive committee.
And, okay, so there's no requirement for the public to be allowed to attend? Okay. I guess I'd like to make sure that the attorney agrees with that.
I am going to reserve comment on that, having not been involved in the regulations associated with this, but if the board wants to pose that question to the prosecutor's office, I will make sure and get that turned into Mark so he can be responsive to that. Is that a question that
Well,
is?
no, my personal opinion is we're not a quorum, and you've duly elected us to be your executive committee, and I think for us to get together and get your agenda put together and do all the little scout work is responsible, reasonable way to go.
Yeah, but normally subcommittees are, which is what this is a subcommittee of the entire board, are liable to open meeting. So if there is a legitimate exception for that, that's fine, but I just want to make sure that we're legal.
Okay. So does anybody else have that concern? You want, remember the prosecuting attorney said we could refer question to him as long as the majority of the board wants to refer that question.
That's why you're the executive.
Ask
Huh?
Ask Mark.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Ask Mark. All right, so is that consensus? You want to ask Mark?
Yeah.
All right, fine.
That then will apply to any committees that are.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
Okay.
And Sue has agreed to, for this 90-day period when people are supposed to be doing the online training, kind of track and remind us who hasn't done it and who has. So, Sue.
According to Trish, 11 have taken the Open Meetings Act online course. There are 4 who have not yet: Noma, Norma, Rod, and Ken.
Okay.
Will you report to Trish when we have done that?
Yes.
Send me an email.
Yes, ma'am.
It is my understanding that this question was posed to Mark previously on when this training needed to be done. And the answer is that the training must be no later than 90 days after they take their oath of office or assume their duties. It's okay if you took the training beforehand, but you must complete this training before you assume your duties of office.
Yeah, that's we knew. That's why she only has this job for 90 days.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. So, all right, now we're down to the exec. Oh, yes. Ken.
I need a reminder on where to go do that. Is that?
Trish sent us an email with a link. You can go to the link.
I'll make a note and
I'll have
send
to
it
have that
everybody.
sent to me.
I'll send it to
All right.
people.
Thank you.
Okay. To the 4 delinquents. Okay. All right. All right, now I get to do our executive committee reports. Okay, so your executive committee met and we did 3 things. We created a proposed schedule, which is open for discussion. We'll get to that in a moment. We talked about presentations to the board, and it is our recommendation that we invite elected officials plus the county administrator, and that we ask the presenter to give us a 10-minute presentation, which will include a brief description of the responsibility and any of their suggested changes to the charter. And then the commission will be allocated 10 minutes for question and answer to their presentations. So what that does, it allows for 4 presentations per meeting. If you take your meeting and you have 90 minutes of presentations, it allows 90 minutes for whatever else we're going to talk about. If you wonder why the time constraints are so short. The email from Cheryl Williams today said, as far as this list goes, she wonders why we didn't have HHS on there. And the answer to that was that it was our recommendation that we do elected officials, that we not get down into appointed department heads, because then you really get a big thing. But that would be your choice when we get to that discussion. And then we would be, your executive committee, we would be glad to be in charge of getting those letters of invitation out and connecting with the, see who wants to come in. There was the original one suggestion was just to invite the chair of the board of county commissioners, and then the alternative was to ask all 3 of the county commissioners to come. Then you received in your packet a matrix, so we want to explain to you what that was about. Our hope tonight is that we will go around and each person will simply tell us, check mark what articles they would like to see discussed, but they're open, but they're not going to tell us what's in that charter article or any discussion. We're just going to figure out which articles look like they are popular for discussion, and then we'll move to discussing them at a later time. In terms of the calendar that we proposed for you, I went and checked it against 2 other calendars. One was for 2007, and I don't know what the date is on this one, but we're right in the ballpark in terms of number of hearings and meetings that have been suggested. And we have this, ours shows 3 meetings in February and 3 in March. And that's kind of to catch up for the fact that we only had 1 in January. And so our sense was that you're better off front-loading your meetings, and then if later on at the end, you get your work done in time and you're fine. It's better than staggering and having long delays between meetings in the beginning and at the end in July and August, you find you're scrambling and have to meet once a week or something. So we're just trying to set it at a pace. We're going to get to all of these things for your discussion and your voting. The last thing is I wanted to mention under here. So that's what the matrix is all about. And the other thing, I'd like to make a personal request to the commission that if you have a question, would you please send it to me? If it's a complex one that requires some discussion, I will discuss it with you. Because Trish has a lot going on in her life, and it gets a little cumbersome if we have 15 commission members sending her questions. So I just assume that you filter your questions through the executive committee. Does that sound reasonable?
To you for the executive committee's consideration.
Yeah, if it's complex, we'll ask the executive. It's pretty simple. It just saves, because when we're sending, people are sending questions to Trish, nobody knows if somebody else has sent the same questions. Just kind of trying to streamline it and value her time.
Will you have a set date that you're going to, the executive committee is going to meet so that we know when to send them? In other words, do you have a set time that you're going to meet each month?
We haven't got quite that organized, but we probably plan to. I'd like us to meet the week prior to each meeting. Except for when we start doing all these public hearings, we won't be having to do it. So what I'm happy to do is to send a note to all of you and just say the executive committee is going to meet on X date and time. Because with between vacations and other sorts of things, it might be a movable feast instead of a time, date and time. Any other questions about the executive committee report?
Are we gonna, I guess I'm not clear when we're gonna discuss what's been presented from the executive committee.
We're going to do that next. Even though, let's see if it's on the agenda.
It is meeting schedule.
So, that gets us the meeting schedule, which is one of the things that came out of the executive committee. So you all got your proposed?
My agenda and packets under the executive, you said I was going to add it under the executive.
Oh, okay. All right. The amended agenda, remember, had two things that Barb wanted to raise, and we put them in under the executive committee. So we'll deal with those two quick issues and then move to schedule. Okay.
I just wanted to find out if we can set a date of when we will get the agenda and the packets. Because I've got mine Friday, I believe it was Friday when we got it, wasn't it? Of last week? So I was wondering if maybe we could do like the week before, like a Monday before. If we're gonna meet on Mondays, if we get the agenda and the packets out by the preceding Monday.
Is that doable, Trish?
Not really.
And what would be a reasonable
I mean, for
time?
board packets, they get them on the Thursday or Friday before their meeting on Monday. So, I mean,
But they need once
I was keeping you sort of in the same kind of schedule. That I've got two of them to do, two agendas for the board to do, and an agenda for you, and it's a lot.
Would it be possible to give us 5 days? What happens if it goes out on a Friday? It
Friday,
starts on
Wednesdays
the
are
weekend?
usually pretty quiet.
Okay.
Would Wednesday?
Would shooting for a Wednesday?
If you could shoot for the Wednesday before the meeting, that would be good. Okay. Nola?
But if we're having 3 meetings in a month, there's no way she could do that.
We're
One
really
issue,
shooting for it,
so we're gonna,
yeah, it's a kind of, see what we can do with working with Trish. So rather than having a formal motion, is that okay, we just kind of have we're trying to work with Trish to get that.
Agreement?
Okay.
Wednesdays, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
All right. And your other comment, I think, is pretty
Take
fair
care of that.
with the mileage. Okay. So now we're moved on. Do you all have your proposed meeting schedule?
Well, what about comments on the proposal for county presentations? That was before the schedule one.
Yes, we need to discuss that. So see that, the schedule, okay, let me go back. Let's just discuss everything I just talked about in the executive session. So let's start with procedure of presentations.
And I just have one comment.
Yes, please do.
I think we should invite all 3 commissioners. They're elected officials, so assume one speaks for all is A, not a good thing, and B, probably not very accurate. So I think
Okay, good. All right. So is there consensus you'd like all 3 commissioners?
Yes.
Okay.
And I would also like to invite all of the judges, again, they're all, each and every one of them an elected official. I think they should all be extended an invitation, and whoever wants to come should come, not just ask for a representative.
Okay, so you want to have each judge invited separately. Is there a consensus that you'd like that to happen?
I don't have a problem with the invitation, I just think to remind everybody, we don't get a say much with regard to
I
the
know.
judges and charters, so you can expect the invite, but don't get offended if they point out that really we don't have to answer to you, love you.
We have very little authority over them.
We were just being
Oh, I think it's great, they
saying,
extend
if
it, I
you want to
totally
come
agree.
talk to us, we will listen to you.
Just, there are sometimes
We-
folks who think we do have
No.
the influence over the judges, and I remember many times we had to remind folks that.
Yeah. We sort of know that because that's why we put this language, a representative of, so that if they want to just come tell us what happens in the courts.
They do
But
have-
okay,
they do have a
so is there an agreement you'd like to see a letter of invitation sent to all the individual judges?
Yeah, that's a good-
And that's, that would present?
Come, tell us what you do. Yes, sir.
I prefer the original language, just to have a representative, because like it says, we don't have really any jurisdiction with respect to the elected judges. So why waste their time?
So there, Celinda?
Well, there are elected officials, and as it is, I think the public hears very little from the judges directly, unless it's maybe election time and they are proposed. But I think it is important to invite them, and if they, whatever they want to tell us, we can ask them questions if they want to answer them or not. But I think they are elected officials, and this is one opportunity to ask the judges questions and hear, what they have to say, whether they want to answer them or not. But
Right, hearing two different views, I'd like someone to entertain a motion so we can vote it up or down.
I'll propose the motion to invite all of the elected officials individually, including the judges and the commissioners.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded that all elected officials, do you want to put a little caveat in there with including the county administrator and there's no elected?
Oh, that's, yes, we do want to hear from the county
So
administrator.
you'll amend that
Friendly.
to friendly amendment accepted, okay. So the motion is that we invite all elected officials, including each of the judges and the county administrator, to present to us. Is that the motion is made? Okay, it was made by Celinda and seconded by Rod. Is there any discussion?
My concern is that if we're trying to get 10 minutes for presenters, and we have too many presenters all in one day, how are we going to be able to respond, have our 10 minutes part of the meeting too?
Well, that'll be our job, to try and figure out, set a schedule that it works. Because we'll be sending out letters of invitation and working with you.
So we're not inviting them all to come to one meeting?
Oh, no,
We're
no,
gonna
no.
schedule that based
Oh,
on.
no, they're not all
what-
coming to one meeting.
Thank
Thank you for that request. No, this was 2 meetings, it might be 3, but probably 2. But we'll see. We'll span it out, so.
You just got my vote.
Oh, all right. Any other questions?
Well, I have
Yes, sir.
I have a question. In view of what we were told, I think by Rod, that the judges don't really answer to us or anybody, my fear would be that they would all show up and take a bunch of time up on presenting and, I don't know, maybe taking questions on things or issues that we have no control over. I guess my question is there a risk of that actually happening? Doesn't sound like it would be, so I mean, sending the invitations will probably result in thanks but no thanks, but I hate to have, how many judges are there? 5?
So,
I think that going by history, they probably won't come, but if several of them wanted to come, we could revert back to this alternative language that, of giving them only 5 minutes, because they all kind of do pretty much the same thing. The alternative language here is we gave each the Board of Commissioners just 5 minutes.
This is an aggressive
instead of 10 each.
schedule, though. I want to make sure we
Okay.
value our own time as well.
Right. So does that sound correct? Okay. Other questions? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, so we will get to work on getting some of these folks invited. And I'm assuming that under that motion, you also think the procedure of how much time they get was inherently part of that motion, or you want that separate?
I'm fine. Assuming that was part of what we
Okay.
learned at the beginning.
Good, okay. All right, so then the explanation of the matrix
Excuse me, before you go, do we agree on 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
Well, if all three commissioners come, what the language here is, people get 10 minutes, but if all three commissioners come, they only get 5 minutes each, because you don't need all three of them to spend time telling you what a commissioner does. If one of them explains what they do, then the others are supposed to do the same thing, so. Does that sound reasonable?
Norma?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Are we giving all the other public officials, elected officials, 10 minutes?
That's what it says, each presenter will be allocated 10 minutes. That's part of this procedure
I
up here.
understand that. I'm
As
just
to,
clarifying, so if we only give the commissioners 5 minutes, why wouldn't we give each of them 10 minutes? Because wouldn't they have their input as far as their views on the charter then?
yes, they need to give their views. I guess one of the thing is that you could have then one county commissioner have 10 minutes, because 5 of it be telling us what commissioners do, and the other is their comments on the charter. The other 2 commissioners don't have to tell us what they do, but they have 5 minutes to tell us what kind of charter changes they want.
So everybody would be equal on the way they are allowed to present,
Pretty much.
all elected officials.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that okay? All right. So explanation of the matrix, what I want to do. Yes, sir?
Schedules first.
Oh,
Next, I have a concern about one of the dates on the schedule. We're
uh,
taking these in order, right?
well, yeah, see what happened is that the schedule was embedded in the executive report, and then we end up pulling it out and making it separate for your review, but I'm happy to go that one next, that's fine.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I didn't, you're right. We can come back then.
Make sure everything, is that right? So I'm just,
Where are we on the agenda?
all right, no, we're right here, we're still in the executive committee report.
Thank you.
And we're on the explanation of the matrix. You all got this matrix. Trish made it up for us. So what I'd like to do now is just go around, and each one of you just, we'll start with Glenn and go right around the table and just tell us, yes, that you want to open that article up for discussion, and that's all you need to tell us.
That's down here.
Yeah, I think that's where folks are confused.
Yeah, all right, so people clean our act up next time.
Your
in the
reports,
agenda.
you're done with your report, and you dealt with your procedures, so now you're looking at the meeting schedule.
Yes,
Is there
all
nothing
right.
on your agenda?
Oh, see, you want to deal with everything we can. All right. Thank you very much.
I know that's what you said.
All right. I am comfortable going to the schedule. Okay, proposed schedule. All right, open for discussion, the proposed schedule.
Everyone's conservative, so don't change.
All right. Cheryl said everything on here works fine for her except for June 29th, she's on vacation. So, and Rod.
There will be a couple of these dates, like, I won't be able to make. That said, it's not a big deal. I can listen to the tape while I'm gone. The public hearing on the 17th in Clallam, I will not be able to make that huge class that night.
Okay.
And I think there's one other one of these, it might be the March 11th one, the public hearing in Port Angeles, I may or may not be able to make.
Okay. Well, we should be able to hook you up by phone.
I have
Your
prior
whole things.
commitments,
Yeah. Okay.
so they're 13 and 14-year-olds.
Well, the reason why we did this, we knew when we proposed this, that you probably are never gonna get a schedule. We have 15 people say, yes, I can come to every one of these. So we want to just give you a schedule and figure out if the vast majority can show.
And I did want to point out, I briefly talked to Trish while we're talking schedule.
Yeah.
I may be in person one meeting a month and out in Forks another. That will save everybody around 65 hours.
Okay.
And by VidLink, it also opens up the courthouse in case someone wants to attend there. There'll be someone else that can stare at versus
Good.
just the wall.
Good.
I'm not sure it's a better thing than the wall, but, you know, it's an option. So that will, and I'll work that out with you and Trish here later this month.
That'd be a great addition. Okay, Ron?
None of these are on a Tuesday evening, are they? Through March 16th.
February 17th is
17th.
Yeah, February 17th is Tuesday. I will not be able to make that. I teach class, so.
Okay.
And I will not be able to make the 25th.
All right. Okay.
That was in Clallam, too.
Yeah, I have to be in Olympia on the 17th representing the city, and Normally I wouldn't care except that's the swim meeting, and I guess I feel like I would like to, if not should be there.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's any way to swap one of these public hearings, or not, but unless nobody thinks it matters. I mean, like, but I'm already committed, I can't.
Well, this is for the commission. Whatever you guys want to do, we knew that you did better if we gave you an outline to work with than starting from scratch.
All right, ready to go.
So, right now, I have 3 people that cannot attend, the February 17th public hearing.
I cannot.
I can't either, so.
Okay, 17 doesn't look like a good date.
We do have an option of the 14th that's available in Clallam. That's which is
Saturday.
Saturday.
That's a Saturday?
And it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's kind of
We could try that. See how that works. For those of you who are not single, that might make that happen.
All right, so
Will will be busy.
am I hearing that there is enough people that cannot attend the public hearing the 17th that we will then change that date? So I need some proposed date changes for the public, yes.
Well, Sue suggested the 14th, it's fine with me.
What about the 18th?
I will not be in town from the 18th.
I'm gone for
Almost
3
2
days.
weeks, so.
What about February 16th?
I'm also gone on the.
It's a holiday.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Holidays due us in.
Yeah.
The 19th?
Can't do it.
But,
I won't be.
yeah, no, I mean, but, so how many would be available for the public hearing in Scrim on the 19th?
In the evening, it's an evening meeting,
Yes, it is an evening meeting.
I can.
Norm, I'm gonna have to have somebody else
Either.
look
Pardon?
after that. I'll need somebody else to look after it. I had a death in the family and I need to go to California.
Okay,
I'll be leaving on the 18th.
okay.
Would it be
We should
possible,
be able to find somebody maybe in Scrim who do our minutes for us.
would it be possible to flip the SQUIM over into March?
This is your agenda, guys. This is your schedule. There's some direction here.
What about the 13th?
For the 23rd?
I'm out of town that week.
The 23rd is a Monday?
That's a city council night for some governments.
Oh.
We do it on a Tuesday night, maybe in.
See what a challenge this is, getting this schedule going?
How about the 24th?
You could do the 24th and swim.
March?
24th and 25th.
So we have.
All right, we can do that. You want to do, excuse me?
Yeah, I won't be here I won't be able to do it on the 24th. I can't do it on a Tuesday night through March 17th.
Yeah, I can't do Tuesday and Thursday, but that, again, I can
So-
listen to it tape.
All right,
Listen
so,
to it, Dave.
all right. So let's have a raising of hands. Who would be available for a public hearing February 24th in Squim?
What's the date is that?
That is a Tuesday.
24th.
It'll
Would
be
be
my fourth
available.
meeting in that day, but that's okay.
No, we'd be out of town.
So how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
That's why I
Are
asked
you-
if it could be in March, maybe. If we could flip it maybe to March.
The idea of doing the back-to-back in March of the 24th and 25th.
I mean, I think we should account for the 5 people that it's going to be in their district, that we make sure they can make it,
Yes.
I think that's
That's a
important.
good idea too.
and maybe let them drive that day.
Well, I'm one of those 5.
Suggest the
I'd rather do
date,
the
suggest the
24th.
date that would work for them.
Are we talking about February or are we talking March?
February.
So she was asking that we move
I'll
it
be back in
into March 24th.
So how many of the District 1 folks can make the 24th?
See, we're really,
February,
you know, our problem is our routine meetings are first and third Mondays. We knew we were getting into this because now we can't meet on the third Monday. We don't have a regular meeting set for the, so unless we get something else set up in February, we'll have one meeting for February. We're not gonna move very fast forward unless we get something else going in February.
Well, you've got the 25th.
So, it's the
February 25th works for Forks.
25th and 4th. How's it made that work? All right,
What day is
so
that?
that's an okay. February 25 and Forks, we've agreed on. All right. We have another date in February that we could do something. Do you want to move the PA one to like the 18th or whatever? Yes, sir.
So maybe Raj, or you could comment on this. It seems to me when the commission has gone out on the road for the first hearing, there's been very little public participation.
Right.
So the magnitude of the turnout of the commission isn't, I don't think, that significant. It'd be nice if you can make, it's the second set of hearings, that there's a good turnout depending on what's proposed. So I'd say you can schedule these and somebody, good majority are available, get those, let people have some input, but not a summary and can listen to the verbatim tape if they want some.
Yeah, in that line, I mean, the 17th is fine.
Well, how about we just switch where we're doing, why don't we do Port Angeles on the 7th?
I don't have to be at that.
Okay, so Ken?
Yeah, you can push that.
What I'm looking at is there's a lot of District 1 people that can't come on the 17th. So I think we should honor that District 1 people should be at their own hearing. So how would it work if we move February 17th to make it a Port Angeles
Hearing,
hearing?
good.
Does that work? All right, so we'll leave it on
Thursday
the,
becomes the 11th, then just swap those first.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
No, that's fine.
does that work?
Yeah, 'cause-
Oh, boy, are we good. Okay.
Well, just what's
The
that
17th
here?
is the PA,
Yes.
and the
Yeah,
11th.
March 11th, that'd be
Yes.
fine.
Which is a swing.
So we're switching in February 17th, switching it out of Squim, putting it in Port Angeles for the public hearing. And then on March 11th, the hearing will be in Squim.
So it'd be 6:30 our normal time?
Yes. All these meetings will be at 6:30 unless the commission wants to create some.
How long does it take to drive to Forks?
An hour, 15 minutes.
Depends. I'm going to answer. Those of us familiar with the West End, closer to Glenn's time. Those not familiar,
Yeah.
give yourself an hour and a half and you'll be perfectly satisfied you're there early.
From
And-
From Glen?
2 hours.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a time warp between Glen and PA that the mileage never matches the
Well,
time.
now that the construction's done, it might.
It doesn't, no, in 20 years, it's not matched.
Don't say that. That's discouraging.
Bottom line, Nola, is that we should all try and carpool as much as possible. We
Yes.
here at the courthouse.
I'd say if you give yourself 2 hours, you'll be early. I agree with.
Are you gonna cover where these meetings are gonna be held in Squim?
Well, that, yes, and what happened, Ron, is that, well, we thought that was gonna be in Squim on the 17th, Sue did her homework and found somewhere it's available. But now that it's gonna be in PA, I will hope that this place is available. Is this available, Trish, on the 17th?
Why didn't you city council once?
Yeah, we've moved
I
around.
don't know what this computer is set up for me to be able to look at that computer.
Okay, well, we will notify you all, we'll find a spot, I'm sure we're welcome somewhere. Okay, any other comments about the schedule? Knowing that nothing is written in concrete, but this is our best laid plans of mice and men, and that if we have to come back and revisit, we can do that. Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the schedule for 2015 as amended? That is changing PA to February 17th and changing March 11 to Squint.
I so move.
Second.
Wait a minute, who's the so moved?
Someone
Linda moved and who seconded? Ron.
Ron got it.
Ron Bell seconded. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor? Okay, and opposed? All right, so now we're moving, we did the meeting schedule, now we get to do the proposed charter article numbers. Good to meet you, right? All right, we're back on the agenda. Okay, so,
When you were talking about this in your executive committee, did I understand that your goal was to just ask for folks interested in opening Article 1, and I'm presuming you're asking just raise hands, the Article 2? I do remember a ritual like that a couple times before.
we can do it either way. We can ask the person to go around and just say, have, like Nola's the first one, and Nola will go, I want to open, blah, 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 and then Ken will say, I want to open, blah, 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 so we can do it either way. Or I can say, who wants to open Article 1, and then you raise your hand and we'll check you off.
I would argue the latter was maybe easier for everybody.
All right. Okay. So, are you ready to deal with any questions about this matrix? Okay. Those who would like to see, oh, and then before I forget, Cheryl Williams wants to open Article 2, Article 4, and Article 6. So, who? Cheryl Williams, who could not be here tonight.
So which ones, Article 2 or 2, 4, 6?
2, 4, and 6. Okay, so, all right, so bear with me while, okay, Article 1, raise your hand. Let's see, that's, let me get these in order. Okay, Sue, when I call your name, put your hand down, so I got you. Nola, Connie, Maggie, and Steve. Okay, Article 2. Okay, got, gotta find you here. I should have these kind of order. I can't even find you, Glenn. Where are you? There you are. Okay, Article 2 for Glenn and Celinda and Connie and Sue. Sue, there you are. And Barb, this is a popular one. And Rod, and Steve, Maggie. Where are you, Maggie? Oh, there you are. Okay. Gotta remember what I said at home. Okay. That's it. All right. Now, Article 3. Okay. Article 4. Glenn, Celinda, Noah, Steve, Ron, Ted, and Ken, and myself. All right. Okay. Article 5. Glenn, Celinda, Steve, and myself. Okay, Article 6. Glenn, well, Glenn, you're just going to rewrite the whole thing here. Celinda, Nola, Sue, and Rod, and Steve, and Ron, and Maggie, and Ken, and myself. Okay, 6. No, what is it? That was 6, I just did. I'm 7. Ted is, and, okay, on Steve. Okay. Anybody else for 7? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Celinda and Glenn.
Put Glenn there.
Okay, Article 8. I'll start this end over here. Ken, Ted, Maggie, Sue, there you are. Connie, got you in the wrong row. There you are. Okay. Glenn,
And number 7, take me out of that, I voted wrong.
you don't want to be in 7?
No.
Okay. All right. Article, whoa, just a minute, guys, okay.
He's got it.
Gotta get my line straightened out here, okay. There, I'm gonna do this. Article 8, so I can't get you on the wrong line.
We just
We just did it.
Article 9.
Okay. I screwed up, so we need to go back and do it. You got, oh boy, good thing we got Rod here. He's gonna catch me out. Okay, do 9.
So add me to
Added 8.
Mike,
8,
one's
Mike
on
Doherty
8.
wants 8.
Okay.
Doherty. See, that's why we have parliamentarians, to keep the chairman in line. Okay, Article 9. I can't do that, what happened? 9. Celinda, Steve. 10, Ron, Celinda, Article 11. Okay, I'm sure this one. Okay, 11 is Glenn, Celinda, Connie, Nola, Maggie, that you are, Barb? Where are you, Barb? Oh, there you are. Okay. And who else? Ted and Ken. Ken and Ted and myself. All right, again, there are 12. Glenn and Sue. Is it? Okay. And
Oh, 12? That was 12?
12.
12.
You're 12. Okay. And you know, you can add your name later on. Article 13. Okay. Ron? Anybody else? All right, so, Ron,
What did we just do exactly?
huh?
What did we just do?
Well, what we're doing is seeing which articles we would prioritize in our discussion. I mean, for example, there is nobody who cares about Article 3, we're not gonna spend much time on it. But we have a lot of people who are interested in Article 6, so what I thought we'd do is we will total these up, and then we can begin to discuss the articles according to who, you know, the ones that have the greatest interest. The other thing you can do is you can begin to use this to create subcommittees, but things like Article 6, it's difficult. We may have to discuss that just in general at the commission level because there's too many people that are interested in opening up 6. You're beyond a quorum, so you couldn't have a subcommittee with that many people on it. Right, Ron?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay. So let's just,
The other thing
Okay,
is,
yeah.
it's just, you're going into public hearing.
Yeah.
And so now you've indicated to the public, these are, well, the public can make any comment on any article for us to consider and look at. What you're also signaling to the public is, here's the areas by the commissioner's own interest that they feel are sections that deserve some level of attention. For example, Article 2 has 9 members of the commission. Article 13 has 2. You know, so it's like, you may feel like highlight to the public, there seems to be a focus on these articles by their number. Someone who's coming to testify about Article 2 will probably have a real interested body of folks, whereas Article 13, it might be a few folks interested in one specific issue.
Ron, could you do me a favor and tell me how many you have on 8?
I'll get 8.
Article 8.
I've got 7.
Oh, I did it right, but I scratched them out. Okay. So here's the numbers I have. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, Article 2 is 5.
Article 1.
No, Article 1, sorry, gotta get started at the beginning. Article 1 is 5. Article 2 is 9. There's a song about that, isn't it? Starting at the beginning. Okay, Article 3 is 0. Article 4 is 9. Article 5 is 4. Article 6 is 11.
So I'm different on
All right.
I'm off by 1, but it could be you. I don't have you in Article.
Yeah, I only have 9.
I'm in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Article, that was 6. Article 7, I have 8. Article 8, I have 7. Article 9, I have 4. Article 10, I have 2. Article 11, I have 9. Article 12, I have 3. And Article 13, I have 2.
The only one where I am really off from you
Okay.
is Article 7. I had 4.
I have 3.
Okay.
All right, let's do 7 again, because that's the one I just really
And
troubled up.
I had Ted, in Article 7, I had Ted Miller, Steve Berg, Celinda Barkhouse, and Glenn Williams.
One withdrew.
And Glenn withdrew, okay.
Ken Hayes.
So that's 3.
That wasn't her.
Those are the
Okay.
three that I had.
All right, so tell me again the 3.
Celinda, Steve, and Glenn.
That's the one.
No, Celinda, Steve, and Ted, I'm sorry. Celinda,
Celinda,
Steve, and Ted.
Steve, and Ted. Okay, I don't know, I got a whole bunch of things in there that didn't belong. Okay.
What article was that?
That was 7. I gave you totally the wrong numbers in there.
There's 3.
There's 3.
There was
Okay.
Norma.
So, we basically then, Articles 6, 4, 2, and 11 are the top ones, with Article 8 being close there. So, anyway, I don't know what you want to do with that. So, yes, sir.
Just for a moment, it might be advantageous, and we don't necessarily have to do it now, but in Articles 2, Articles 4, 6, and 9, determine if there are topics that folks, that's what they have in Article 2. You know, it might be the Board of Commissioners, it might be
No.
executive
It was
power, it might be the composition. And then you can say, yeah, my issue in Article 2, if that's the one you chose, is how many commissioners? Or, and then that starts, without having a long debate about what it is, it tells you what the section is that people are focused on. And again, we're just trying to highlight or
And then you can drill down.
project out to the public.
And then you can drill down below quorum
Maybe.
then to do some subcommittees if you wanted to.
Okay. So it's been suggested that we do another go-around on this matrix, and that we take those that are really popular and give people a chance to let's go around the table and tell us what part of that article you're particularly concerned about. Is that what I'm hearing? You would like to do that?
I'm not ready to do that tonight.
Okay? Nobody else? Do you want to do that next time?
Do it next meeting.
Huh? All right, so then be prepared next meeting to come ready to tell us what parts and issues within each article. And then based on that, we can begin to create some subcommittees.
And that's just for those, just for those that are highlighted.
Yeah, I mean, in Article, the idea was to do it in 2, 4, 6, and 9, and 11, because
Yes.
Yeah,
2, 4, 6, and 11 is where we have more than quorum.
Article 8 would have more than 4 too.
It's close. It's on
It's
board.
7 is what I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's close. It may not be a bad idea on that one item.
And then if you do it by section number, then we don't have to get into the specifics, but you can just say, this section is what I want to look at.
I thought also, if you'd like, we can have Trish take this and delete our names down here. And then give a little, so that during the public hearing comment and the
Yeah.
public comment period,
You can check it
you could write, John Doe, and then you can check over here what article they're concerned about. So it would be, it's kind of what you're talking about, Steve. It's sort of a matrix for you to keep track of how the public, which articles the public are airing some concerns about. And Nola, we could basically do that with the correspondence we're getting. You could put that on this matrix to show what, so
My
you
problem
begin to
is
get.
trying to get these to fit into somewhere. They have
Yeah.
a concern, but figuring out which paragraph it fits under.
Sometimes.
Uh-huh.
So, I know, just a picture. Okay. Okay, so do you want to do establishing subcommittees then at the next meeting? Because we'll do that based on, okay.
Well, we could do that for the smaller groups that are not the 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, or 11
Okay,
at the next meeting.
so we could actually do that at this meeting. We have 5 people who said that they want to discuss 4, and, no, I have 14. Okay, I jumped in the middle here. Article 1, we have 5 people that said they're interested in it. So do you want to create your own subcommittee that start talking about doing some research and proposing some language and doing whatever you want to do? Yes, Ron?
Well, I just want to get the names if we decide that, so I just want.
Okay, that article, correct me if I'm wrong, under Article 1, we have Nola Judd, Sue Ford, Maggie.
Article 1, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
You want my special off there?
Well, I didn't have that filled out, but
Oh.
I raised my hand and I'm obviously.
Well,
You did, but you can withdraw.
You can
Go ahead
withdraw your
and
name
get
off. This is, it's like magic markers here. We can change your info. Len did it, we'll let you get do it too. So if you want your name off of there, that's fine.
Can we just run some copies of who
Yeah,
has
that's what I
correct
say.
sheet?
Oh, you guys didn't do your own? Okay,
And
all
then
right.
everybody has it.
All right, let me, okay, you all
Ray,
have your
I figured
own?
we could do that.
You all have your own? I'll read them off quickly and you can check them off. You ready? Is that your matrices? Correct me if I'm wrong, Mel.
Please do
Article-
it slowly rather than quickly.
Well, I'm gonna go from, you guys are the advantage, I'm gonna go from the top to the bottom. I was bouncing all over trying to find your name. So, okay, Article 1, and correct me if I read your name and you don't belong there, we'll delete you off. Article 1 wants Nola Judd, Sue Ford, Maggie Roth, Steve Burke, Connie Bouvet. Is that correct? Does anybody else want to add in there or subtract from? Okay. Article 2.
Are we gonna just assign the subcommittee of that right now, or?
Well, we're going to have everybody have a complete matrix, then we'll go back and do that.
Two is one of the ones that you're going to
Break out.
Right.
But here's who said yay.
But I want everybody to have their own matrix full.
Okay.
Okay. So on Article 2, it was Sue Ford, Maggie Roth, Steve Burke, Celenda Barkhouse, Glenn Wiggins, Connie Bouvet, Barbara Christensen, Rod Fleck, Cheryl Williams. So that group will come back next meeting with a little more specifics on sections, in case we want to have a subcommittee by section. Nobody is interested in Article 3. Article 4, Nola Judd, Ken Hayes, Ron Bell, Ted Miller, Norma Turner, Steve Burke, Celenda Barkhouse, Glenn Wiggins, Cheryl Williams. That one has 9, and so you'll have to come back at the next meeting again and break that one up into smaller pieces, okay? And I think thinking, see if I voted in my right to vote in here. Okay. Article 5.
I just want to clarify,
Yes, sir.
I will not be at the next meeting, Ian's at Fort Angus, because I got to teach it.
Okay.
Ian's at college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Article 5, I have myself, Steve Burke.
Like, go down to the top of the bottom.
She is.
I am.
She is. Oh, she is, okay, sorry.
Nora Turner.
Yeah, I'm the first one. It's all blank above me.
I'm down here.
Oh, okay.
So is Norma Turner, Steve Burke?
Steve Burke, Celenda Barkhouse, Glenn Wiggins.
So it's just 4.
So I want to be added because I want to be on the committee.
You want to be added, okay? So we're adding Barb Christensen to Article
Can't imagine.
5. Okay. Okay. Article 6.
Just a second. Could you read that one again? I
Yes,
missed it.
Article 5 is, go down the middle, there's myself, and then Steve Burke, Celenda Barkhouse, Glenn Wiggins, Barb Christensen.
Thank you.
Article 6, Nola Judd, Ken Hayes, Ron Bell, Sue Ford, Norma Turner, Maggie Roth, Steve Burke, Celenda Barkhouse, Glenn Wiggins, Rod Fleck, Cheryl Williams. Again, that will come back and that's the next meeting discussion. Article 7. Rod, could you help me? I have for Article 7, I have Ted Miller, Steve Burke, Celinda Barkhouse.
Correct.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
For
No,
Article
you're
7
right.
is 3?
Yep.
Article 8. This one I didn't do so well with. Would you do me a favor and read Article 8 for me?
So I have Ken Hayes, Sue Ford, Ted Miller, Maggie Roth, Celinda Barkhouse, and Connie Bouvet, and then Mike Doherty.
So no.
I had Glenn Wiggins.
I have Glenn on there too.
Okay, I missed Glenn.
Okay, so what was that again?
And Mike Doherty
Mike
on
Doherty.
there?
Hayes,
Yep.
Steve Ford, Ted Miller.
Yes, no.
Say it one more time.
Okay, so I have Ken Hayes, Sue Ford, Ted Miller, Maggie Roth, Celinda Barkhouse, Glenn Wiggins, Connie Bouvet, and Mike Doherty.
Thank you.
And
Right.
yep, that's gonna need sections.
That's, we're gonna check a little thing up there at the top.
So Celinda, we were over quorum, you were right.
Article 9. Nola Judd, Ken Hayes, Steve Burke, Celinda Barkhouse.
I have one, Bill.
Ron, are you on there?
I thought I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have him either, so.
Okay,
You are now.
all right, so Ron, you're in there? So that's,
So,
Would you read that?
okay, Article 9, we're rereading it. Nola Judd, Ken Hayes, Ron Bell, Steve Burke, Celinda Barkhouse.
So you're not on that one.
Article 9, no, I'm not. Article 10, Ron Bell, Steve Burke,
I want that too.
all right, and Nola Judd.
I got Celinda on there.
And Celinda.
See, I had Celinda and Ron,
I only had 2 on there.
so.
Okay, now we have 4. So going back,
Article 10.
okay, Article 10 to repeat. We have Nola Judd, Ron Bell, Steve Burke, Celinda Barkhouse.
Ken Hayes.
No,
Oh, I thought Ken was on there.
No.
See what a challenge this is. Okay, Article 11. Nola Judd, Ken Hayes, Ted Miller, Norma Turner, Maggie Roth, Celinda Barkhouse, Glenn
Nice.
Wiggins, Connie Bouvet, and Barb Christensen.
I had Steve Burke also.
No.
No?
No.
Is everybody okay with that one? Okay, Article 12. Sue Ford and Glenn Wiggins.
And Mike
Mike
Doherty.
Doherty.
Oh yeah, Mike, you're down the bottom there, Mike Doherty.
And then,
Not used to go on the bottom line, am
go ahead and make it, right, okay.
I? Anybody needs to be added or subtracted from that one? Okay, and the last one is Article 13. Ron Bell, Glenn Wiggins. All right, now, does everybody have a complete matrix, so you know where everybody's? Okay, so it turns out then the ones that we're going to be doing, you can do your own number counting, but any article that has more than a quorum means that we'll be discussing that at the next meeting to try and split it into sections. Yes, sir.
If I'm not attending next meeting, should I write to?
You can send your comments and we'll insert them.
To the executive
Could you remove me from Article 10?
Article 10, remove you, gotta find you first. There you are. Okay, so Steve, take Steve Burke off of Article 10.
Thank you.
Okay. And, okay, all right. So now we'll go to the ones that have a few people. We'll start at the right-hand column and move to the left. So Article 13, there's Ron Bell and Glenn Wiggins. So you two can feel free to get together and have a discussion. Okay. Article 12 is Sue Ford, Glenn Wiggins, and Mike Doherty. So you guys are committee. Okay. Article 11, there's too many. Article 10 is Nola Judd, Ron Bell, and Celinda Barkhouse.
I
So
got
that will-
Ken Hayes.
Huh? I do not have Ken.
Not on 10.
You're not on 10?
Nope. So you three can feel free to form your subcommittee. Article 9 is Nola Judd, Ken Hayes, Ron Bell, Steve Burke, and Celinda Barkhouse. That one can be a subcommittee.
That's Article 9.
Article 9. Article 8 has too many. Article 7 has 3. I'm marking this one up. So I might get this one wrong again. 3 is, I have Ted Miller, Steve Burke, and Celinda Barkhouse.
Yep.
Did I get that right this time? Okay, so that can be a subcommittee. Article 6 has too many. We'll get back to that next time. Article 5 has myself, Steve Burke, Celinda Barkhouse, Glenn Wiggins, and Barbara Christensen, and we can create a subcommittee. And Article 4, there's too many. There's nobody who wants to touch Article 3. There's too many on Article 2. Article 1 is Nola, Sue Ford, Maggie Roth, Steve Burke, and Connie Bouvet, and there's 5, so you can form a subcommittee. So, that's you guys figure out when to set your times to meet and what you want to talk about, and
We're not going to be doing this all before next change.
no, you have several weeks because we're gonna have all these public hearings and you start doing your homework there. Okay, any other comments about subcommittees, et cetera, before we move on to the agenda?
Well, can Chris, would you get in on that? Send it out, Chris, get it on that.
I can.
It's according to your matrix.
Yeah, but I mean.
Glenn.
I'll make a pretty one.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Barb has a question. Yes, ma'am.
So if we find out later after the public hearings that it's something that we want to become on the committee, we can always add later as well, you said? Okay, great, thank you.
Yep, up to the quorum. As long as you don't have a quorum on the subcommittee, you're okay. All right? So, any other comments about subcommittees before we move on in the agenda? Mike?
So I had a couple of concerns that cross a couple of articles, and they were generally kind of good government topics. So I'm wondering, when can somebody just request a little update on the law in certain areas? For instance, I think Mark Nichols has a couple of memos on open meetings, public records, I'm not sure what else, but he's had those in the past to give to elected officials, so things like that. And then sort of the history of the charter, the code of ethics, conflicts of interest, because that's come and gone a couple of times in other charter review meetings. So if there was a way to have a little memo on what's the status of the charter provision, the county policy, maybe the Association of Counties Code of Ethics, conflicts, so a little memo on that. They're generally just, good government sort of policies. And it may be that those are difficult to send out to the public, but they could be in our recommendations to the board to consider. For instance, I think City Council, I don't know when you were there, Glenn, but they considered televising their meetings, archiving differently for better access for the public through their website. And various times when I was commissioner, the public would ask for those sorts of things. So I thought it'd be a good service to the public to make research. And if it's municipal research service, the catalog, which kind of progressive governments are doing those things with their website. So if there's a way to kind of request a little research, and back first meeting, Mark is going to be available to do some of that. And at least the public records and public meetings, I think he's got memos.
But that's that training we're doing online.
That's sort of the current state, but my question would be, so what's the next thing that local governments are doing to kind of open up government to the public?
So I'm trying to understand your request. Do you want that kind of presentation made by someone to this commission? Or are you requesting that this commission create a separate subcommittee with just this generic title of basic things that are going on in good
Folks that
government?
are on, what is it, Glenn, Sue, and I are on Article 12. they have a similar interest, maybe that subcommittee could look at some of those. Sue knows more about websites than I ever would. Maybe she knows some things the county could do. But my point is, can we request the prosecutor just to give us what's the minimal statutory requirements for local government under Washington state law? And then what's the county policy in meeting that statute? And then, the civil deputies go to workshops, and they may know of 3 or 4 things that are a little beyond where we are, but it would open up government a little bit to the public.
It would be helpful, rest of your time in, if you kind of put this together in a memo, and then we can figure out what
So
we're
basically, we use
exactly
the
asking.
research request, and at least on open meeting public records, I think Mark has some of that. Going sort of how to improve it, that's another step. But what the state of the art, what we do now, we've got the.
Could you raise that in your subcommittee, and then you guys, that committee can bring back
we
a
can talk about it.
request? That'd be, okay, yes, Ron?
Just on our subcommittee work, I could glance, I'm already just thinking, I just have one issue actually. And if you and I meet, should we then just submit it at this time, whether it's possible? Okay.
Any other questions or issues around the matrix, the subcommittees, what we're gonna do at the next meeting, bringing back, drilling down and getting our articles down to see if we have different sections that we're concerned about? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to public comment. Oh, excuse me, yes.
I think it goes backwards just.
Yeah, okay, feel free.
Ted and I discovered that March 11th is the Swing City Council retreat. You gotta be there.
Well, can you come right after?
Well, that's usually we have dinner.
Oh,
There's a group, I believe.
whoops.
I mean,
Gee, I thought we did such a good job.
Yeah.
We can always reopen it because.
yeah, let us talk to our end, but it's something we really shouldn't miss.
What time is your retreat?
Well, it's all day, and then it goes till like 5 or 5:30, and then we have dinner together as a group.
So would you be done by 6:30?
Just in time. Yes.
Well, we can find out more about the actual schedule. We don't actually have a schedule for the whole day and get back. So,
Yeah, then maybe we can move it to the 12th.
yeah.
Do you want,
Well, I guess my thought is, if somebody needs to check on that day availability anyways, right?
Right.
Maybe, if you're checking,
well, the other thing is, do you want to flip it with the Forks public hearing so that we go to swim February 25th? That's no Sue, it said right there, okay.
And the fourth state works for me.
Yeah, the other option is maybe do March 11th, go March 25th.
that would be fun.
Why can't you just flip flop the 2nd and the 11th?
Or yeah, the 2nd and the 11th would be better.
Yeah, we
Second
can do
is
that.
May PD.
All right, so,
Isn't that why you're hearing?
That would work for me.
all right, so you want to do that, flip, so that March 2nd will be the public hearing in Squim, and March 11th will be our regular meeting with county officials. Is that okay?
March.
So March 2nd is now going to be a public hearing in Squim, and March 11th will be a regular meeting with county officials. Okay, does that?
Thank you.
Does somebody want to move the new edition schedule?
I so move.
Okay, moved by Ken, seconded Ron Bell, that we adopt this newly revised schedule. It was moved by Ken, seconded by Ron Bell. And the motion is to adopt the newly, one more time, revised schedule, which will take, March 2nd will be a public hearing in Squim, and March 11th will be our regular meeting with county officials. Okay? All right, all those in favor? Aye. And opposed?
Thank you.
Oh, we're doing well here.
Appropriate notices that are go out.
Oh, yeah, we have to. That's one of the legal requirements, is always public notice. When, where we're meeting, and what it's all about. Okay. So now we're down to public comment, so anyone who wants to comment, you may step up to the podium and sign in, and we would ask you to limit your comments to 2 minutes if you can.
Hi, I'm John Burton. I have a question. Will all of the committees and all of the subcommittees be posted on the website, all the meetings?
I don't know, we'll have to discuss that.
Because I believe, there are 4 lawyers in the room. I believe that they are all public meetings. And if the public wanted to participate in any meeting, how would they know that any of these meetings are going to be held?
Well, there's a difference between attending and participating.
I know.
So under our bylaws, if the public comes, they're not a participant, they're simply an observer.
Right.
And wasn't that the question we said we were sending to Mark Nichols to ask? Because he's the legal counsel for this group, so I'm sure we'll have an answer.
Because the question was raised about whether or not executive committees need to be posted. So
Exactly.
we will broaden that and just have them deal with all committee meetings. Okay? Anything else? Okay.
Hello,
Hi.
my name is Brian Craig Moraine. 8 years ago, I'm going to tell you the story first. 8 years ago, or 7 years ago, I bought a piece of property in Swim. And I had a little bit of problems with the mortgage. No attorney in this area can answer my questions. So I decided, I'm going to study law. So I found out through the years that 75% of all the mortgages in this county are invalid or fraudulent. And I'm just the messenger, by the way. This information is coming from several county recorders throughout the United States that have investigated a bundle of their mortgages in their county. And they have found that most of the big banks didn't do things correctly. The county is missing, this county right now is missing millions of dollars of recording fees. The people that are foreclosing on some of these mortgages are not the true party of interest. It affects everybody, whether you have a mortgage or not. We have in this county right now any mortgages that have been written in the last 10 years by any of the bigger banks, 70%, 75%, maybe 80% at the highest realm have broken chains of title. There's a book I want everybody to go look or a YouTube to go watch. It's called Clouded Titles. And what this has done, this has been all pre-engineered by the big banks. It's been employed to steal 40% of our wealth. They've done a very good job. I can go on for hours like this. I'm just here as a messenger to let you guys know what's going on. I'm attempting to inform everybody in our county. Sheriff Department's been known about this for 20 years. There's a documentation that I handed to him, a 300+ page document by County Recorder John O'Brien out of Massachusetts. And he did an audit on a bundle of his mortgages in the county, and he found right on the face 75% were invalid and fraudulent. I don't have much skin in this game, but it makes me mad when I see a retired person lose their home because they lost a bunch of their wealth. Or a 38-year-old man who has 2 kids that's put on the street. And the bank is foreclosing because it's a non-judicial state. Any bank can just come up and wave their hand and say, it's mine. Very big problem. I just want you to be aware. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodness, how we're gonna walk in a minute.
Excuse me, are you all remembering to sign the sheet, because I'm not gonna have it.
There's
You've
two
got to
there,
spell your
I'm
name.
John
Okay.
Kennedy.
Okay, and address will be good as well.
I'm Edna Williamson. I just want to let you know that I have already spoke to Mark about it. The name of the program is SARS that he's referring to. And the state of Washington has already declared it illegal. They can't use it on any of them. We know that there's lost revenue, that you can't go back and collect that. And just wanted, that's all I wanted to tell you, is that it has been taken care of, that Mark Nichols has been on top of this. And I'm just writing this for the lady.
That's just very helpful.
Oh, I just-
That's very helpful to have your name and address on it. So you see this as a charter issue?
I don't know, because it's already come to the courts, and the courts has ruled, in this particular case, the lady received a contract, another contract, they had used SARS on there, which means that it's not even really a bank, it's a non-existing bank, and they use this, and they bundle them, and they sell, and it was going on and on and on and on, and I mean, it could come back and look like Saudi Arabia owns your house, because now they have to bundle them and sell them.
Well, what it is, it's securitized and put it in trust. In my mortgage alone, was sold in 19 different trusts. That means they made $450,000 times 19. That means that all state employees who are invested in mortgage-backed securities are going to lose some of their retirement funds. This means that 80 teachers' funds that are invested in mortgage-backed securities or derivatives are going to lose some of their retirement. This means unions, trade unions that have invested in. There's lawsuits going on over the United States, guys. I've read over 1,000 lawsuits right now in the United States brought by homeowners, teachers' unions, you name it. The Attorney General of Washington State has sued most of the major lenders. This comes right down to the bottom line. It's right here, in front of everybody here. This is where we have to draw a line. We have to put a moratorium on foreclosure in this county that any major lender has been involved. The MERS system is nothing but a shadow system. It stole millions of dollars from this county in recorded fees. And what it means is if anybody in here has financed in the last 10 years with any major bank, look back at your mortgage and your deed of trust. I guarantee you, you're going to find that broken chain of title. I have been brought to several attorneys' offices throughout Washington State to get my opinion. One of the other attorneys that I've worked with, his name is Scott Staffing. You can Google him. He is one of the top defense attorneys for homeowners in Washington State right now. He's the one that helped write the amicus brief for Christine Bain, which states that murderers cannot foreclose or be a beneficiary in Washington State. And it goes deeper than that.
We have one more minute.
I can sit here for an hour and discuss it.
That's why I'm giving you one more minute.
But, you know, I'm guaranteeing you all that this is a very crucial thing that we need to really look at. It really is.
But is it something that fits under one of the articles of our charter?
Yeah, do we have, are we allowed to ask a question? Assuming everything you say is 100% true.
Ron, that's not what I'm saying, this is what other
Okay,
programs said.
but what do you want the Charter Review Commission to do about it within our jurisdiction?
That's what I get, that's a question that everybody asks me, what do you want me to do about it? The Sheriff's Department says, what do you want me to do about it? The county auditor says, what do you want me to do about it? John O'Brien from Massachusetts, he did something about it. Several other county recorders and auditors throughout the United States are doing something about it. And it seems like the buck keeps getting handed down. You know, I don't know where to start or where to begin. But,
Did I get the impression that this other lady said that Mark Nichols has already looked into this and is on top of this?
We met with him, gave him all the documents, and this is the court of Washington State Court, the Supreme Court, has ruled the SARS to be illegal in this state, and they notified everybody that needed to be notified and taken care of that.
what's that SARS, it's MERS, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but anyway, they took care of that, and he said everything is fine, Mark did, because the court has already ruled, and he knew about it, and he was right on top of it and took care of everything. There was a group of us that met with him, and he assured us that he had researched it and found out that we were safe here in our county.
One of the things I would say is that since this is a charter and we're willing to entertain ideas and propose language, that if you want to come back at another meeting and with some proposed language, we certainly can talk about that.
I would be glad to.
Any other public comments?
I wanna kind of-
Mike, did you have a question?
Well, I can wait till the end.
Okay. Hearing none?
So in response to this two citizens request, could we ask the prosecutor for a copy of his opinion on this? And if it's a copy of a court case that he's relying on, that would be great. If it's a state agency that financial services or Secretary of State, somebody who looks into this stuff, has issued this directive that Mark's relying on, if we just get a copy of it, at least we're following up on what the two citizens have asked about.
Okay.
Plus, that'd be
Would the
pretty.
group like to ask the prosecutor to help share that information with us, so we can understand it better? Okay.
I mean, that's.
We have, yeah. I have to get my group here.
Incidentally,
Yeah,
several
so-
counties in the United States are suing the
Okay.
next town too, so.
Well, again,
So, Ron?
I respect the Honorable Mike Doherty a great deal, and requesting prosecuting attorneys is always an appropriate thing to do. But if it doesn't have anything to do with the Charter Review Commission, aren't we kind of wasting people's time?
Won't he respond that way and say it doesn't apply?
Yeah, I
He
think
could,
it would work better.
he could very well do that. I mean, I just wanted to open that up for discussion.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a paragraph right now that it would fit under, but he might.
And it doesn't really, might not be in the charter, but in the state law, there is a movement by Senator Powell, I think his name is, and others, to create a state bank that would look at some of these things instead of the major commercial banks. So you have that option. There are other states doing sort of progressive things to get banking more connected back to local communities.
Well, and I would also say that that's one of the things that with the charter, I mean, what you have can be amended, added to, deleted, and that's part of our job is to do some homework. And if there are issues that are raised, it benefits all of us to do a little research and.
I think I answered my own question. If it doesn't fit under a paragraph here and we think it's still something that has merit, that doesn't mean we couldn't add another section that would be appropriate. Once we get the feedback from.
Any other additional public comments before we close the public comment period? Okay, hearing none. Okay, so we'll close the public comment. I have items for the good of the order, and that's basically if you just have something, some information you want to bring to the table that's of a very public nature, and you'd like us all to be apprised of something that's happened to the city or the county or schools or whatever. Does anybody have any items you want to share?
Find it if I can find it.
Okay, Ron?
You were handed this town county charter review path for success and proposed sections for open discussion and submitted by Sioux Fork and in this grassroots coalition. That's part of the path.
Right.
Are we expected to take action, or is that just something?
That's just information. Right now, we're collecting information. And Barb might want to just talk for a second to what she handed out to you.
Well, it was just because when I was new to the commission, I wasn't sure of how we proceed and what we do. And so after meeting, we kind of put together, or I put together kind of a list that would show those of us who are new, how we go about the process.
I'm good, and that's the path.
Yes, that's what I put that together.
Yes, Glenn?
I've had my 60th wedding anniversary, like all.
So did Meanie get titanium, you know? Yeah, what medal does she get? You know? Okay, go ahead. It's well deserved.
So before we entertain a motion for adjournment, I just want to reconfirm what we have decided on our schedule. So our next meeting will be February 17th, which will be a public hearing here in Port Angeles, 6:30. Probably be in this room, but if not, we will have a public notice so you'll know where it is. And, okay.
17th.
February 17th. So that will be our next meeting. Okay? And Trish will try as best she can to get all of our information out to us the Wednesday prior to the 17th. I don't have a calendar yet. So, okay.
A couple of things.
Yes, ma'am.
I printed the schedules while we were talking with the changes, so I'll have those if people want to pick them up when they go.
Thank you.
And I made this beautiful, but I haven't had a chance to proofread it. I'm just printing it.
Okay.
The matrix is going to do it as well.
Thank you. And remember, if you have questions or issues, please send them to me and I'll share them with the executive committee and we'll decide tonight when we're meeting next. And thank you all for your good attention and I'll entertain a motion. Whoops, right.
So I think the end of the last meeting, I mentioned that Trish has access back in the commissioner's workroom of the Wasatch Association of Counties description of what county elected officials do. And I think she had them out here at the end of the meeting. So if somebody didn't get one, they want one. It's a nice little single fold that gives a page on each of the elected officials. So prior to their coming, we could read what their powers are under the statute. And then I believe Wasatch has a contractor producing a brand new book very similar to that. I don't know if that's available.
I know I want to go, I want to go as badly as everybody else, but I'm just looking at the minutes, and there was a list of amendments to consider, and the consensus was discussion of the amendments to the charter at the juncture was premature, and the action taken, Rock moved to consider item the next meeting, and the board seconded that. Is that something related to Ted Miller's?
Where are you, Ron?
I'm on the last page of the
So it's
minute.
not on the Robert Rules of Order he was supposed to produce?
Yeah, I'm just not sure what it relates to. It's the last page there, a list of amendments to consider. It looks like something was supposed to be taken out today. Maybe that should go on the agenda.
Well, the discussion items for the next meeting actually did all of those. Elected officials, process for amendments, meeting schedule, public hearings. I think we addressed those.
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Wait a minute, wait, before you move, there was a hand over there preceded your motion.
No,
Ted.
I was going to move to readjourn.
Oh, okay.